It's Ketchup Packets.
Hey everybody, I'm Nate.
I'm Sean.
And this is Ketchup Packets. Today we're watching a movie. We're watching 12 Angry Men.
That's right. This won the Patreon poll like 100 years ago. And then we failed to ever get to it because we got swept up in a whole bunch of TV shows over the summer
bunch of stuff
and
we were
fall
watching.
last year. Yeah.
But
And then we watched Halloween movies and failed to get to this again. And yeah.
we're doing it.
We are.
We are doing it. We are
And-
fulfilling the promise to our
Yes.
Patreon subscribers.
To our loyal subscribers, which we are very grateful for. And this year, we're going to be doing a whole bunch more movies. Every time a TV season ends, we're going to watch a movie before we move on to another season of TV, be it a different show or the
Yes.
next season of a same show. We're going to punctuate seasons with movies.
Probably should have been doing that all along.
Yes,
but we're doing it now.
We're doing it now, and the polls for those movies will be over on Patreon. So you can head over there if you want to check those out and participate in that and help select what movies we're going to watch here on the channel. But today, it's 12 Angry Men. This is a 66-year-old film. Fuck.
Yeah, jeez.
That's old.
What is it, 1957?
That's right.
Wow.
My father was 3 years old.
Jeez.
So, yeah. What do you know about this movie, Nate?
I know nothing about
Really?
this movie at all. Yeah, I've heard of it, I've heard,
I thought...
the name before.
I thought this was one that was sort of in the popular consciousness that everyone at least knows the premise. So I'm surprised to hear that you don't even know
No idea.
what it's about. This is a movie that takes place all in one room. And it's about a jury.
Okay. Oh, sure.
This is a jury deliberating on a case. I'm pretty sure is the entire movie.
Interesting.
And it's very highly regarded. It's got some classic actors in it, I think. Like Jack Lemmon might be in this, who's better known for being funny, but
yeah.
I'm not sure if he's in there.
Also wondering about the genre. Is it?
It's drama. Yeah,
okay,
it's
so
like
it's drama.
It's like a drama of 12 guys sorting out the innocence or guilt of a perpetrator, I believe. I'm pretty sure that the guy who is the voice of Piglet in Winnie the Pooh is in this movie.
Okay.
I've never seen his voice come out of his face before, so that's going to be interesting. Because I was looking him up while my daughter was watching Winnie the Pooh, and I saw that he was in 12 Angry Men. So, yeah. I don't know anything else about it other than it's about a jury. It's a jury in the 1950s, so they're all white men instead of it being like a diverse group of people to decide someone's fate in the justice system.
As it was.
But yeah, that's all. And do you remember when we were watching Barry? Gene Cousineau had all his posters all over the theater of like stage shows he did. There was one that was Gene Cousineau is 12 Angry Men.
That's right.
So like he had done this whole show by himself.
By himself. Yeah.
So I'm gonna have that in the back of my mind the whole time we're watching this. If you haven't seen the show Barry, Gene Cousineau is a very silly acting teacher played by Henry Winkler. So yeah, go watch Barry and then watch our Barry reactions.
Yeah. Hey.
I don't know. Should we get to 12 Angry Men?
Yeah, let's
Anything
do
else?
it. No, I got nothing to say about it. I have no idea what we're even going to watch. So, but we do have a Patreon. Check it out in the link below.
Movie polls.
Yep.
Decide what we watch
that's
after
right.
this.
And yeah, thanks for being here. Let's watch 12 Angry Men.
All right.
This is back when movies had shots that were more than like 2 seconds long.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna really be. It's gonna be an adjustment, I think, to get into a movie that's of such a different time.
You've listened to the testimony. You've had the law read to you and interpreted as it applies in this case. It's now your duty to sit down and try and separate the facts from the fancy.
Judge seems bored.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
In the event that you find the accused guilty, the bench will not entertain a recommendation for mercy. The death sentence is mandatory in this case.
Oh,
Okay.
You're faced with a grave responsibility. Thank you, gentlemen.
It's funny. He just doesn't want to be there at all.
well, this is routine for him.
Yep.
Is that the defendant? It's a kid.
Okay. Yeah, I figured the stakes would have to be pretty high for a movie where the entire thing is just jury deliberation like that.
Well, you'd think that at least air conditioning these places. What's your names? Oh, it's, Valley, yeah. Thank you very much. Okay,
I do wonder why there isn't a newer version of this movie. Most movies, especially like classics like this, get a more modern interpretation at some point, and this has not been done again.
Okay, man, let's take our seats now.
Just trying to take it all in here.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I have to.
And I'm also just distracted by the fact this is still one shot.
Yeah, we got this.
Wonder how long that's going to be for.
It makes sense it could work as a stage play.
Yeah, yeah.
Number 12 sit about right here.
Yeah, that's 12. We go around the clock.
1, 2, 6.
They're just all going to get numbers instead of
Yep.
names.
I beg pardon? I thought he was really
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
The way he
None
handled
of them have introduced themselves. I don't think.
Gentlemen at the window. We'd like to get started.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Pretty tough to figure, isn't it? Kid kills his father.
I think he can't handle that they have a kid's life in their hands.
Yeah.
Figures you see that
Seems like
along.
he's
Tell me they let those kids ride.
thinking a lot. He's up in his head.
Okay, gentlemen, if I can have your attention. You fellas can handle this
Finally
thing
a
any
cut.
way that you want to. I'm not going
You were just waiting for that?
Yeah.
We can. All those voting guilty, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So everybody except for
Except
our
for-
guy
yep.
staring out the window.
Okay, that's 11.
The
guilty.
foreman didn't. Did he vote? Yeah,
voting
I
not
guess he
guilty?
did. He said 11. So.
Yep.
Oh, what are we doing now?
I guess we talk.
Boy, oh boy. You really think he's innocent?
I don't know.
You said.
Reasonable doubt.
He stabbed his own father 4 inches into the chest. They proved it a dozen different ways in court. Would you like me to list them for you?
No. Then what do you want?
Okay.
Well, there were 11 votes for guilty. It's not easy to raise my hand and send a boy off to die without talking about it first.
Well, now, who says it's easy?
Yeah.
No one.
Well, were they planning to just go back out if everyone voted guilty right away? Like, you still got to go over everything,
Yeah,
I think.
right. Yep.
This kid's been kicked around all of his life. You know, born in a slum, mother dead since he was 9. He lived for a year and a half in an orphanage when his father was serving a jail term for forgery. It's not a very happy beginning. He's a wild, angry kid. That's all he's ever been. And you know,
And this is really a time before,
like
Like, environmental influences were given so much weight.
Yeah, right.
Listen, I've lived among them all my life. You can't believe a word they say. You know that.
Oh, no.
I mean, they're born.
Who exactly?
Only an ignorant man can believe that.
Now, listen.
Do you think you were born with a monopoly on the truth? I think certain things should be pointed out to this man.
I like this guy.
Yep.
Suppose we go once around the table. I guess you're first.
Oh, well, it's hard to put into words. I just think he's guilty. I thought it was obvious from the word go.
That's
Yep.
bad reason.
Nobody has to prove otherwise.
is
The burden of proof's on the prosecution.
Prejudicious.
The defendant.
He should be off
Yep.
the jury.
Yep.
Well, I just think he's guilty. I mean, somebody saw him do it.
Okay. Here's
So a witness.
I have no. The old man lived downstairs under the room where the killing took place. And he heard the kid yell out, "I'm gonna kill you." Second later, he heard a body hit the floor. Ran to the door, opened it up, saw the kid running down the stairs and out of the house. Called the police. They came in, found the old man with a knife.
Okay, so that's not somebody saw him do it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just as sentimental as the next fella. I know he's only 18, but he's still got to pay for what he did.
I'm with you.
Okay,
Those are extremely damning circumstances,
Yeah, they
but it's
sure are.
already different than somebody saw him do it,
There
which is
is-
what they said
Yep.
a second
The
ago.
entire story was flimsy. He claimed he was at the movies during the time of the killing, and yet 1 hour later, he couldn't remember the names of the films he saw or who played in them.
That's right.
And no one saw him.
Yeah, that's also sketchy. But
I mean, anyway, she looks out the window, and right across the street, she sees the kid stick the knife into his father.
Whoa.
I was looking for a motive. That's very important because if you don't have a motive, where's your case, right? Anyway, that testimony.
yeah, not quite. But
An argument between the old man and his son around about 7 o'clock that night. I mean, I could be wrong, but
It was 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, that's right.
Don't they have this stuff on paper? Shouldn't they be able to reference documents?
I can't see 2 slaps in the face provoking him into committing murder.
It may have been too many. Everyone has a breaking point.
Yeah, but that's speculation.
right.
no.
It's interesting to hear the different ways
Yeah.
people think about it, though, you know?
You got any kids?
3?
I got one. 22 years old. When he was 9 years old, he ran away from a fight. I saw it. I was so embarrassed I almost threw up.
God.
I said, I'm
Wonderful.
going to make a
Yeah.
man out of you if I have to break you in 2 trying. Well, I made a man out of him.
Okay.
Haven't seen him for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the man you made him into.
Yeah.
There was one alleged eyewitness to this killing. Someone else claims he heard the killing, saw the boy run out afterwards, and there was a lot of circumstantial evidence. But actually, those 2 witnesses were the entire case for the prosecution.
Yeah, see, that's bad.
All you have is 2 witnesses.
Yeah.
Reasonable doubt is pretty much still there.
Yep. We're learning now, too, that eyewitness testimony is
They're only people.
not
People
really
make mistakes.
good
Could they be
ever.
wrong?
Yeah, exactly. It could be
No,
wrong.
I don't think so.
You know so.
They could believe they're telling the
Yeah.
truth and still be wrong.
This isn't an exact science.
That's right, it isn't.
And the kid's life is in the balance.
Yep.
Say, could you bring us the knife?
Knife?
Yeah, thank you. The boy admitted going out of the house at 8 o'clock on the night of the murder after being slapped several times by his father. He went directly to a neighborhood junk shop where he bought one of those
Switch knives.
switchblade knives. This wasn't what you'd call an
Can't buy those anymore.
It had a very
Yeah.
unusual. The storekeeper who sold it to him said it was the only one of its kind he had ever had in stock. 3, he met some friends of his in front of a tavern about 8:45.
A unique murder weapon.
He arrived home at about 10 o'clock. Now, this is where the stories offered by the state and the boy begin to diverge slightly.
Okay.
He claims that he went to a movie at about 11:30, returning home at 3:10 to find his father dead and himself arrested.
And he also claims that the 2 detectives arrested him and threw him down a half a flight of stairs.
Now, what happened?
I believe that.
Yep.
He claims that it fell through a hole in his pocket on the way to the movie sometime between 11:30 and 3:10, and that he never saw it again. Now, there is a tale, gentlemen. I think it's quite...
Yeah, it's...
Never went to the movies that night. No one in the house saw him go out at 11:30. No one at the theater identified him. He couldn't even remember the names of the pictures he saw.
That's
this-
definitely... You don't forget everything about a movie you've seen right afterwards.
It does seem like he's guilty.
And the story about the knife is hard to believe, too.
Yep.
I'm just saying it's possible the boy lost his knife and that somebody else stabbed his father with a similar knife. It's just possible.
Take a look at this knife.
Similar knife.
It's a very
It's a
unusual
nice table,
knife.
man.
It's a dragon on
Seen
it.
one like it?
Wow.
Neither had the storekeeper who sold it to the boy. Aren't you asking us to accept a pretty incredible coincidence?
I'm just saying a coincidence is possible.
And I say it's not
But
possible.
reasonable is what
Yeah,
you need,
right.
not possible. Got the same one? Oh, shit.
It's the same knife.
Quiet, here, do.
Whoa.
I bought that at a little pawn shop just 2 blocks from the boy's house. It cost $6.
It's against the law to buy or sell switchblade knives.
That's right, I broke the law.
Okay, so they're already illegal.
Yep.
The odds are 1,000,000 to 1.
It's possible.
But not very probable.
Okay,
It does seem very unlikely.
Yeah.
No point standing around all over the place.
But that's the thing, is a death sentence can't sit on unlikely.
Yeah, it's final.
Yeah.
What's interesting about it? Interesting.
I don't know. I just thought it was interesting.
There are still 11 of us here who think he's guilty.
I know in the modern day, death sentences sit in appeal for many years. I wonder if it was like that back then or if it was more expeditious.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to call for another vote. I want you 11 men to vote by secret written ballot. There are 11 votes for guilty. I won't stand alone. We'll take in a guilty verdict to the judge right now.
Interesting.
Yep.
It's not guilty. We stay here and talk it out.
It makes a big difference to not have to have everyone
Yep.
see
I'm ready.
your vote, you know?
Absolutely.
How many not guilties do you think there will be?
3.
I think there might just be one.
Guilty?
They all write in cursive.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
Guilty.
That guy
Except for
printed
that, yeah.
in caps.
Guilty.
Oh my God, it
goodness.
says not guilty.
Not guilty.
Guilty.
Boy, how do you like that?
Oh, and another chap flips his wings.
Who was it? Come on, I want to know.
No, that's the
No,
point, you
yeah.
asshole.
You sit here, vote guilty like the rest of us, then some golden-voiced preacher starts tearing your poor heart
It's the
out
kid,
about
the
some
guy with the...
underprivileged
No, that's him. Never mind, so it couldn't be.
You change your vote.
I think it is
If
him.
that isn't the
That's
most
why he's pointing at the other
Why
guy?
don't you
Yep.
drop a quarter in this collection box?
Interesting.
What made you change your vote?
He didn't change his vote. I did.
Oh, okay.
Nice!
Oh, fine.
I like that guy.
Like to tell you why? No, I wouldn't like you to tell me why.
Well, I'd like to make it clear anyway.
So the rest of the slips they're not going to read? So there's only one, I guess.
Yep.
The boy in trial is probably guilty, but I want to hear more. Right down the
You can spare a few hours for the end of this kid's life.
Supposing you talk us all out of this and kid really did knife his father, huh?
Simply no way to know. This would be like really difficult psychologically to be on a jury like this in a case like this.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Blue Eyes.
Have you ever been on a jury?
Okay, fellas, let's take our seats.
No.
I have.
I got called. I did get called for jury duty one time, and I wasn't able to make it. It would have been a financial burden because I would have had to miss too much work.
I see.
Well, I was wondering how clearly the old man could have heard the boy's voice through the ceiling.
Didn't hear it through the ceiling. The window was open. So was the one upstairs. It was a hot night, remember?
It was another apartment. It's not that easy to identify a voice, particularly a shouting voice.
Identified it in court.
That's right. And don't forget the lady across the street.
If they're your neighbors and you know them,
Yeah,
you can
right.
probably tell who it is.
When the window is open and the train goes by, the noise is almost unbearable. You can hardly hear yourself think.
All right, you can't hear yourself think. Well, you get to the point.
And I will. Now, just a minute.
If the train was going past, how did he hear the voice?
Yep.
Put them together. The woman across the street swore positively she looked out of the window and saw the killing through the last two cars of a passing elevated train, right? The last two
Very
cars.
interesting.
What are you giving us here?
Just a minute.
How did they not see what he's saying?
The old man, according to his own testimony, I'm going to kill you, body hitting the floor a split second later, would have had to hear the boy make this statement with the yell roaring past his nose. It's not possible he could have heard it.
If the defense attorney didn't do this, the kid didn't have effective counsel.
Right, exactly.
Voice is good enough for me.
Even if he heard something, he still couldn't have identified the voice with the yell roaring by.
You're talking about a matter of seconds. Nobody can be that accurate.
Well, I think testimony that could put...
Yeah,
Yeah, it needs to be that accurate.
Something I don't think he could have heard it. Maybe he didn't hear it. I mean, with all that L noise.
No, he really got through with
why do
that
you
one.
people
Yeah, the defense
talk
attorney
about
should have done that.
Yes.
Why should he lie? What's he got to gain?
Attention, maybe. Seam of his jacket was split, under the shoulder. Oh, did you notice that? I mean, to come to court like that.
Okay.
He was a very old man in a torn jacket. And he walked very slowly to the stand.
Do you think he's lonely and neglected?
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah.
This is a quiet, frightened, insignificant old man who has been nothing all his life. Who's never had recognition.
That's a lot to glean from his outfit.
He's got a torn jacket,
Yeah.
Nate.
A man like this needs to be quoted, to be listened to be quoted just once.
And even if this is not all actually true about that guy, what he's saying is, this could be the kind of person we're listening to. You know?
Yeah,
You have
right.
to keep that in mind. You know, you don't really know who the witnesses actually are.
Yep.
He wouldn't really lie, but perhaps he made himself believe he heard those words and recognized the voice.
Yeah, you want to be important
Yep.
and involved.
Let me ask you this. Do you really think the boy'd shout out a thing like that so the whole neighborhood could hear him? I don't think so. He's
Yeah,
much
that's
too
a
bright for
weird thing to
that.
say right before you actually kill somebody.
You lose the element of surprise, you know?
Right.
Speak good English.
Mr. Foreman, I'd like to change my vote to not guilty.
There we go.
What?
For crying out loud, your kid's own lawyer knew he didn't stand a chance. Right from the beginning, his own lawyer knew it. You could see.
Ineffective counsel is a big problem for
Yeah.
a death penalty
Right.
case.
Who the heck
Isn't
could?
there some kind of
Maybe
thing,
some guy's
mistrial?
mother or somebody.
If the lawyer is really bad and
Well,
call
it's
it
an
out?
appeal grounds. There's not a
Yeah,
mistrial,
yeah.
but it's an appeal grounds, ineffective assistance of counsel. You can get a new trial.
Let us assume that the boy really did commit the murder. Now, this happened at 10 minutes after 12. Now, how was he caught by the police? He came back home at 3 o'clock or so, and he was captured by two detectives in the hallway of his house.
Yeah, returning to the crime scene is doesn't quite fit.
Killed his father. Why would he come back home 3 hours later? Wouldn't he be afraid of being caught?
That's a good question. No one asked this during the trial?
Yeah, right.
The boy knew the knife could be identified as the one he had just bought. He had to get it before the police did.
Interesting.
Could be identified. Why did he leave it there in the first place?
Well, I think we can assume the boy ran out in a state of panic
Yeah.
after having just killed his
There's a believable story there. You're leaving a frenzy after you stab the guy.
Yep.
Think about it later. It's still 3 in the morning. You're like, I still have time probably.
Yeah.
Go back to get it.
Enough to see to it that there
And they're
were
there.
no fingerprints left on the knife. Now, where did this panic start.
Oh yeah, no fingerprints because they said he wiped it down. Yeah.
Guilty. What side are you on?
I don't believe I have to be loyal to one side or the other. I'm simply asking questions.
Well, this is just
Yes.
off the top of my head.
What you're supposed to do.
Did or didn't the old man see the kid running out of the house at 12:10? Well, did or didn't he?
He says he did.
He says he did.
He says he did.
That's not the same as we know.
did,
You know.
yeah.
You people are talking only about the little details. You're forgetting the important stuff. I mean, all of a sudden, everybody here.
Boat.
I'm talking here.
Another boat called for. Now let's take our seats.
How many not guilties this time?
4.
Much time spent on
I think it's gonna be 6. I think half of them are now not
Oh,
guilty.
really? Okay.
Okay, I guess the fastest way is to find out who's voting not guilty. Now, all those voting not guilty, please raise your hands.
Oh, they're doing it publicly now?
Still the same. 1, 2, 3 not guilty, 9 guilty.
No, come on. The immigrant's gonna come over to not guilty. He's got to.
Next Tuesday. Where's it all getting us?
Pardon? I vote not guilty.
4.
You were right.
I was right.
The old man heard the fight between the boy and his father a few hours earlier. Then when he's lying in his bed, he heard a body hit the floor in the boy's apartment, heard the woman scream from across the street, got to his front door as fast as he could, heard somebody racing down the stairs, and assumed it was the boy. I think that's possible.
Assume.
Well, or could his brain could have genuinely filled in the boy. You know,
Yeah,
you see
yeah.
somebody, your
Could've
brain
thought
fills
it
in
was, yeah.
details.
What's the matter with you guys?
But this guy was thinking about his son. He's got to come around.
You're letting him slip through our fingers.
Slip through our fingers? Are you his executioner?
I'm one of them.
Perhaps you'd like to pull the switch.
For this kid, you bet I would.
Yeah, it's because he hates his son right now.
Yep.
He's gonna come around on that basis.
You want to see this boy die because you personally want it, not because of the facts. You're a sadist.
I don't know what that means, so I'm angry.
We are notified by mail to come down to this place to decide on the guilt or innocence of a man we have never heard of before. We have nothing to gain or lose by our verdict.
Yeah. Good speech.
Yeah.
I agree.
This guy values the American system he's in because he chose it.
Yep.
Down the stoop and see if the Catholics are up.
Yeah, the rest of these guys seem to think it's just burdensome. They don't even want to be here. Got better things to do.
Well, look how dark it's getting out there. I bet we're gonna have a storm now. Boy, oh boy, it's really hot.
Okay, it has only been like an hour and change.
Yeah.
Juries are supposed to deliberate for a pretty long time,
Yeah.
usually, especially in a death penalty case.
Maybe we should take another vote. Oh, great. Maybe we can follow this one up with a little dancing and refreshments, huh?
Refreshments
great,
is a good
yeah.
idea.
I could vote guilty. 2.
Not guilty.
All right, Piglet.
3.
Guilty.
And he's also the old man who throws off the Emperor's Groove.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry.
Number 5.
Not guilty.
Number 6.
Not guilty.
Hey!
Guilty.
Number 11.
Not guilty.
Number 12. Number 12.
Guilty.
That guy's got air in his head.
Yep.
So it's half and half.
The vote is now 6-6.
Yep.
A kid like that. I don't think the kind of boy he is has anything
Yeah,
to do with
it really shouldn't.
No.
Facts are supposed to determine the case. Don't give me that. I'm sick and tired of facts. You can twist them any way you like. You know what I mean? That's exactly the point these gentlemen have been making. I'll tell you what I think. We're going nowhere here. I'm ready to walk in the
Boy,
car
it's a
right now.
bad storm outside.
Yep.
There's no point in this thing going on
Yeah, it's
anymore.
coming
Yeah,
down.
I go for that too. Listen, let's take it to the judge and let the kid take his chance with 12 other guys.
Might as well wait here now while the storm is going on. No reason to leave at this point.
An important point for the prosecution was the fact that after the boy claimed he'd been at the movies during the hours that the killing took place, couldn't remember the names of the movies or the
Yeah.
stars.
Let's hear what we got for this.
Do you think you could remember details after an upsetting experience such as being slapped in the face by your father?
I think so.
Yeah,
Is there
you
any
remember
special
what movie you
details to
went to.
remember?
Right,
You remember
yeah.
who,
The boy
one
couldn't
person who
remember
was
the
in
names
it.
of the movies he saw because he wasn't there that night.
According to the
And nobody else saw him there?
the boy was questioned by the detectives in the kitchen of his apartment, while the body of his father was lying on the floor in the bedroom. Do you think you could remember details under those circumstances?
I do.
Under great emotional stress?
Under great emotional stress.
Do you remember them correctly?
It's very suspicious that he has nothing.
Yeah, he can't name the movie he saw.
I'll take the testimony of the policeman who interrogated the boy right after the murder, when he couldn't remember a thing about the movies, great emotional stress or not.
I'd like to ask you a personal question.
That position is pretty reasonable
Who were you
of
last
the
night?
smoking guy.
I was home.
How about the night before that?
Come on, what is this?
No, that's all right. Monday night, my wife and I went to the movies.
What did you see?
The Scarlet Circle. It is a very clever whodunit.
What was the second feature?
The second feature?
I'll tell you in a minute.
Yeah, it was a double feature.
No.
Remarkable Mrs. something,
Okay, that's more than the boy gave you already.
Bainbridge, the remarkable Mrs. Bainbridge.
I saw that. It's called The Amazing Mrs. Bainbridge.
Yeah.
Same difference.
Yeah.
At least you
Yes,
identified
I mean-
a movie.
Who else? I'd never heard of them before.
This guy has given you so much more than the kid did.
Yeah.
Already, like the fact that he.
This
could,
is the least persuasive one so far.
I think the point is made.
Big point.
I don't want to agree with this guy, but
There was this whole business about the stab wound and how it was made. The downward angle of it, you know.
Don't tell me we're going to start with that again. They've been over it and over it.
Well, I know they did, but I don't go along with it.
so the
Now, the boy was 5 feet 7 inches tall. His father was 6'2". That's a difference of 7 inches.
but you just have to be moving your hand downward.
Into the chest of someone who's more than half a foot taller than you are.
Give me that. I'll give you a demonstration. Somebody get up.
Oh God.
Oh no.
Yeah, but you can put the blade away. It's a switchblade. You can put the blade away and do it.
I want you to watch this because I don't want to have to do it again. I'll make myself about 6 or 7 inches shorter, okay?
It's about right, maybe a little more.
Okay,
No,
look.
yeah, you still if you're swinging down,
Yeah.
the blade's still at a downward angle. I think, right?
Yep.
Look at the angle. Down and in. And this is the way it was done. Now tell me I'm wrong.
Huh.
Down and in, I guess there's no argument. Well, hold on a minute, will you?
Yeah.
Give me that.
With a knife like that, though, you also want to just like
Yeah.
slip it up under the ribs into the heart, right?
He'd never use it like this. See, you lose too much time switching hands.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. To get the knife. Yeah.
Underhanded.
Yep.
Anyone who's ever used the switch knife wouldn't handle it any other way.
It's true. Yeah, because of the kind of knife it is. That's a good point.
Know the experience he got all his life handling these things. I feel he'd have gone for him underhanded.
How do you know? Were you in the room when the father was killed?
No.
None of us were. That's why we're here doing this.
Yeah, dude.
I don't know about the rest of them, but I'm getting a little tired of this yakety-yakking back and forth. It's getting us nowhere.
Yeah, he just wants to be done.
I changed my vote to not guilty.
You what?
You heard me. I had enough.
What do you mean you've had enough? That's no answer.
Hey, listen.
He's right. That's not an answer.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
can't just change it arbitrarily.
If you want to vote not guilty, then do it because you are convinced the man is not guilty, not because you had enough.
I like this guy too. He's got mad respect for the process.
Guilty or not guilty?
I told you. Not guilty.
Why?
Look, I don't have to.
You do have.
Yeah, that's why do you think we're locked in here?
Want another vote?
Okay, there's another vote called for.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
This guy changed his mind. Why?
9.
And the foreman.
Yeah.
The switchblade thing is convincing.
I don't understand you people. I mean, all these picky little points you keep bringing up, they don't mean nothing. You saw this
No,
kid
it's
just like I did.
Add them all up.
Yep, exactly.
That phony story about losing the knife and that business about being at the movies. Look, you know how these people lie? It's born in them.
Yeah,
people,
this
yeah,
is a
he's-
prejudice.
They don't know what the truth is. And let me tell you, they don't need any real big reason to kill someone either. No, sir.
Probably shouldn't be on the jury.
No, yeah.
Look, they're rushing it up and fighting all the time, and if somebody gets killed, sure, somebody gets killed, they don't care. Oh, sure, there's some good things about them, too. Look, I'm the
Everyone
first
is
one to say that.
disgusted.
Everyone, the
Yeah.
camera's pulling away the way everyone's pulling away from this rant, you know?
You're making a big mistake, you people. This kid is a liar, I know it, I know all about them.
This is a very interesting scene.
They're no good. There's not a one of them who's any good. I mean, what's happening in here? I'm speaking like peace, and you...
Everyone's disgusted.
Like, I'm not even going to listen to you spout this shit.
We're this kid on trial here, he's tied. Well, don't you know about them?
I do like, too, that they haven't identified what type it is. It's just prejudice, sort of. Huh. Wild.
The old man looks so weary over there.
You made some excellent points, but I still believe the boy is guilty of murder, and I have two reasons. One, the evidence given by the woman across the street who actually saw the murder committed.
As far as I'm concerned, it's the most important testimony.
And two,
through a moving train, though?
She saw him do it the wrong way.
That's absolutely right.
Let's talk about this woman for a moment.
Yeah. I mean, you can say it's the wrong way to wield a switchblade, but it's not impossible to do.
Yep, sure can do that.
That she got a good look at the boy in the act of stabbing his father. As far as I can see it, this is unshakable testimony.
Well, that's the whole case.
What do you think?
There's now one witness. The whole case is one witness now?
It's not so easy to arrange all the evidence in order.
You can throw out all the other evidence. The woman saw him do it. What else do you want?
You can throw out all the other evidence. That's not how this is supposed to work.
No.
All right, I'm changing my vote. He's guilty.
Anybody else, the vote is 8-4.
Why is this such a personal triumph for you?
Yeah.
It's one vote.
Because he thinks it's his son.
Yeah.
Why were you rubbing your nose like that? Well, if it's any of your business, I was rubbing it because it bothers me a little. Oh, I'm sorry. Is it because of your eyeglasses? It is.
So, eyeglasses from the witness, is that going to be a crucial thing or something?
The woman who testified that she saw the killing had those same marks on the sides of her nose.
Dun dun dun! She's supposed to wear glasses.
Yep.
Just give me a minute. I'll be finished.
Maybe they're reading glasses.
This woman was about 45 years old. She's making a tremendous effort to look 35 for her first public appearance.
A 45-year-old person could definitely have reading glasses. Your nearsighted vision goes as you get older like that. Doesn't mean anything about her seeing far away unless you know about her eyesight.
Well, what about the district attorney? You think he'd pull a trick like that? Have her testify without her glasses?
Yeah, a DA would pull a trick 100%.
Didn't want to because she thinks they spoil her looks.
But it could be a reason the defense attorney didn't bring it up if they're reading glasses and it's not material, you know?
Exactly.
Do you wear glasses when you go to bed?
No.
Nobody does.
Yep.
No one wears eyeglasses to bed.
It's logical to assume that she wasn't wearing them when she was in bed, tossing and turning, trying to fall asleep.
How do you know?
I don't know, I'm guessing.
That's reasonable. Nobody wears glasses to bed.
Maybe she honestly thought she saw the boy kill his father. I say she only saw a blur.
It's the boy she always sees in the apartment across the way.
It's the two people.
How do you know what kind of glasses she wore? Maybe there were sunglasses. Maybe she was farsighted. What do you know about?
Farsighted. That's the most. Yeah.
You can't send someone off to die on evidence like that.
Oh, don't give me that.
Don't you think the woman might have made a mistake?
No.
It's not possible.
No, it's not possible.
I think it's more than possible. It's reasonable.
Yeah. Now that guy's just throwing a fit.
It's because of his son.
You think he's guilty?
I think he's guilty.
That guy just got...
Yeah. This dude had an existential crisis realizing that he was basing it all on his own prejudice.
No. I'm convinced. Not guilty.
So now it's 11-1 the other way.
Well, what do you want? I say he's guilty.
I want to hear your arguments.
You can't just do the pressure of everyone staring at him. You gotta persuade him.
Work either.
Why don't you take that stuff about the old man? The old man who lived there and heard everything.
But the train.
And the movies. There's a phony deal if I ever heard one.
The lack of an alibi is really bad.
Very questionable.
I'm telling you, I've got all the facts here. Here.
What's he gonna... Oh, yeah, there's the picture of his son.
You're not going to intimidate me. I'm entitled to my opinion.
There are certainly aspects of it where I feel like it's possible he did it, but I don't think it's beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is all because your son walked away from a fight when he was 9?
Not guilty.
Okay, there you go.
Not guilty.
He realizes it.
We broke down the two biggest holdovers psychologically.
Yeah.
One of them is sitting silently in the corner, and the other one is sobbing. This is good. It's called jury deliberation.
Damn. Well, I bet you everyone in the courtroom is going to be pretty floored when they hear this verdict. I'm wondering,
especially since it's all the arguments are like stuff they didn't hear.
Right.
So they're probably all sitting there being like, "This is dead to rights."
Yeah,
like,
this kind of feels like it's almost a jury nullification, you know?
Yeah,
like
right.
They're just deciding based on their own evidence that he's not guilty instead of evaluating what's presented in court. Do you think it's just over right now, or are we going to watch them go back and deliver it?
I don't know. Kind of feels like it ends when he rounds this corner, doesn't it?
It does feel like it's ending right now. So we don't even watch the part of them delivering the verdict, just them leaving afterwards.
What's your name?
Davis.
My name's McCardle.
Davis and McConnell?
Well?
McCarkle?
McCardle? Well, that was a good movie.
That was very good.
I was really, towards the ending, like the last 5 minutes or so, I started having the thought of how impressed I was that it was so engaging for being a movie that takes place all in one room. You know?
Yeah.
It's just an extended conversation, and there was no point where I felt like, okay, this is dragging.
Yeah,
this,
right.
You know, like it kept me captivated the entire time, and I was worried at the start that it was not going to have an easy time doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when he said 12 Angry Men, let's do 12 Angry Men, that won the poll. You know, I was like, okay, you know, I'm thinking that's an older movie, but I feel like it came out in like the 80s or something like that. I don't know what it's about.
Yeah.
Sounds like a whodunit kind of thing.
It does sound like a mystery name. Yeah.
Like a Coen Brothers.
So you didn't know we were going for a movie from the 50s?
No, and then I was like, okay, so this is an old black and white movie from the 50s. Mm-hmm. And it's all a jury deliberation.
Yeah.
And there was a piece of me that was like, okay, gonna have to stay awake for all this.
But it was engaging.
Riveting. Yeah, that was really cool. It's, some really good performances. Mm-hmm. And I loved, there's some interesting things about, okay, so how am I gonna even start this? So we didn't learn any of the characters' names for the whole movie until the very, very, very end. Obviously, I almost kind of wish that they would have just had them shake hands and kind of wordlessly or something without giving us, because I don't care. His name's Davis.
You know, they were interested in the humanity of one another. Though, you know, they wanted to get that once they were allowed to.
So maybe that's a piece of the, I don't know. I could have just not known any of their names and had finished that way, but that's interesting that it's like, oh, okay, so they saw each other's kind of humanity over the course of it, so like then the names thing at the end, sort of like the exchange of that is it's a very human interaction kind of, I guess.
And this movie's certainly a classic. I'm sure it's been, you know, studied and talked about for a long time, so I wonder if there's like a significance to that people have, you know, sussed out or attributed, you know, what's the meaning of the very ending being them introducing each other. So I don't know. If people have insight on that, leave a comment telling us what you think about that ending, because that was, definitely an interesting thing to have there.
Yeah, and they were also so creative in the script about not naming anybody, because you said, oh, they're going to get numbers instead of names. So I was thinking to myself, like, they're going to be like, oh, well, number 12 over there says blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, it was all like, hey, buddy, or like, well, you know, what's your problem? Or
they referred
people
to them by their numbers once or twice, but really, they didn't like give them identities of the. It's not like Reservoir Dogs of all the colors and stuff like that. Right.
It's just wild, and the things they were touching on, you know, was topics that I'm thinking like, okay, so now in our new enlightened time space, we're talking about these things in a way that's like, you know, but they were just talking about all the same stuff. It's almost disheartening to realize we're still having this conversation.
I was going to say, I wasn't aware we were in enlightened time space.
No, I mean, I was being
we're living through
a little sarcastic there.
The Earth is down bad right now, I believe.
It's true, but I mean, you know, we'll say like, oh, you know, with the creation of the internet, all of a sudden we're having all these conversations now that we never.
No, I see what you mean for sure.
But it's like we look at this time, the time period that this came out in, as being like real racist and like real, but like they were addressing it in this way that's like, no, prejudice has no place in a jury room.
All these men seem to be disgusted by the guy being really prejudiced.
Yeah.
You know? So that was definitely good. I had the thought during that it would be challenging to remake this, especially in like the now modern time, you know, to try to do 12 Angry Men today, because you'd obviously have to diversify the jury. You'd need women, you'd need people of other races and stuff. And then I think it would get very tricky to not have your characters become stereotypes of these various different groups, you know, you'd have to, and in a way you'd sort of have a double-edged sort of like, it'd be hard to not make them stereotypes, and then it'd also be hard to not make them like anti-stereotypes, fall into the obvious choice of how to make somebody subvert what you expect from
them. Opposite of what the stereotype is, like almost just bad.
It's still highlighting what you think people will expect from it by trying to do the opposite thing, you know. And so it's, I think that would be, I'm not saying it couldn't be done, and I would actually be very interested to see someone try it and see how they, you know. But it's risky, I think, and I think especially with the modern climate of people, you know, you can definitely offend a group or a segment of the audience, and they will work hard to try and make sure the movie doesn't succeed just because of the message they think it's sending. I think it's harmful for it to be out there, and so I understand people's trepidation at having that response or creating that effect unintentionally by trying to do something like this. But, I don't know.
But I would like to see a good attempt at it, because, you know, like, this is very interesting, and actually, like, jury deliberation is kind of an interesting process where it's like these people are making, like the guy said, a decision for somebody that they don't know, you know, just based on information given to them during a trial, and, you know, this whole movie was about the stuff they kind of missed in the trial. So, like, just interesting.
Which hopefully means if they had sentenced the kid to death, that he would have been able to appeal on the grounds of ineffective assistance of counsel, because they had so many arguments that the jury could think of immediately that his lawyer didn't do.
I mean, would the jury be able to bring that up, though? Just be like, we did come up with these things, though, that weren't addressed in the trial. Like, if they did, like, guilty, but, like, we do think he's... Because that's the thing, is, like, I think he's probably guilty.
Yeah.
I think he's probably guilty, but I also would say... not guilty, given, because I understand what,
there's
you know,
reasonable doubt in the state's case. The state has the burden of making it completely ironclad, and it's interesting to see the different dispositions of people about the goal of the justice system. You know, like there's sort of the camp of, well, it's the state's burden to put all the evidence together as, you know, tightly as possible with no holes and be proved beyond a total reasonable doubt, and other people who think, okay, but what we really want is the outcome of the people who did the murder get put away and the people who didn't get set free, so they also are more willing to try and overlook a technicality or slide past something if they feel like the essence of the outcome is what you really need. You know, like, this kid killed his father, and if we let him go, he's gonna kill somebody again when they make him mad, or he's, you know, he needs to be punished for what, you know, I understand that mentality that a person's mind can have that's more loyal to sort of getting the outcome based on the truth as you believe it versus, like, here's what the rules say the outcome should be. You know what I mean? And it's, so that's, you know, it's hard to say which of those approaches is the correct one.
Well, it's a way to avoid people making the choice to put somebody in prison because of what they think happened.
Right.
So
well, it's an imperfect system, so the choice we're left with is some guilty people go free or some innocent people get locked up, you know? And it's which of those things you think is more acceptable, I guess.
Yeah.
And each one has tremendous downsides. You know?
Absolutely.
Locking up innocent people, horrible.
It's bad.
Guilty people walking around doing things that are against the social fabric, bad too.
And, you know, just like they asked this question, you know, it's like, are you 100% sure? And it's like, well, okay, so if we're talking in those terms, no one's ever 100%
that's not
sure
achievable. You can't be 100% sure.
Right.
That's why that's not the standard. Reasonable doubt is a lower standard than that, you know? And
it's just, very interesting, the things they touched on. I was very pleasantly surprised by this movie. And I guess I maybe shouldn't be, because it's a classic.
Yeah, there's a reason it's so highly regarded and no one's ever tried to do it again. They're like, no, we could, like, I'm surprised there's not like an 80s version of this movie. You know, you'd think somebody would have done it at some point after so long, but it seems like it was already everything it needed to be.
Right.
Have you seen any other movies that are like a conversation in one room the entire time?
Not that I can think of.
There's a movie I saw a while ago called The Man from Earth that I've seen talked about in the same conversations as this movie. That's about a guy who is confessing to his group of friends that he's been alive for thousands of years.
Okay.
It's about a guy who's like, hey, so I actually live forever, and it's like nobody believing him at the start, and it's like structured similarly to this of him sort of bringing everybody around to believing that this is a truth about him. And so, yeah, I didn't like it very much. It gets a lot of praise, but I think it's like a polarizing movie where people are either very into it or they're very not into it. I didn't vibe with it, but I saw it one time and it was a long time ago, so maybe I ought to give it another shot. But I was thinking about that movie a couple times while we watched this.
Well, that is a very tricky script to write. Like, even like in this case too, it's like having people who are like, I've already made a decision, and then organically figuring out how to make them change their mind. And like in a way that's believable. It's like, because I kind of knew that going into this, I had the feeling that we were going to end up with a not guilty verdict at the end, because we had almost all guilties at the beginning with one holdout. Yeah. So like
that seemed like it, but it was still interesting to watch them get there. It wasn't about a surprising ending.
There was no part of that was completely unbelievable to me. And I think my favorite part was the rantings of the bigot, and then watching everyone just roundly reject. It's almost like the silence was deafening as he was trying to have anyone go like here, and then everyone just rejected him wholesale.
And he was sort of demonstrating this is now the mindset that's at the core of what we have left in the guilty side. They've knocked down so much of the evidence for the guilty side that this was now the essence of what's left of. But we just really don't like him, and you can tell that he would be the kind of guy who would do it. And
shifty looking, right? Yeah. Once you get to that point, it's like, all right, man, you can't. That's not good enough. And yeah, it's wild. I'm also just I'm proud of the writers of this movie. They're probably all dead now, but
almost certainly.
But
I don't know.
just
maybe not. Plenty of people from that time are still alive.
Yeah, sure. But lots of times when you watch a movie from like this time period, there has to be a couple caveats, like, okay, like there's gonna be some stuff in here. It's like it was different time and like all this stuff, but like they played it pretty straight. And I feel like watching this now, I'm fine with the content of it,
Yeah, the performances were all very authentic and genuine. There was no like old Hollywood-esque, and I know that term refers to like 20s and 30s and stuff like that, but still, even during this time period, some of the performances are a little more like they're not really how people talk, they're still sort of I think movie actors, at least for the first couple generations of it, were getting so much of the craft from stage acting, which is a different thing. You have to sort of project an essence that's larger than life on a stage, because people in the back of the theater still need to get what you're putting out, But this definitely had really modern feeling acting in it that was, I don't know, it would have felt at home in a modern movie.
I was very surprised. I did not feel like I was even watching a dated movie after a while. Like I was just watching. I mean, it was still black and white, which is weird, but this could have come out last year, and I would have been down with it.
Modern audiences have a much better understanding of like the basics of that sort of stuff than the people who would have seen this movie at the time it came out.
Right. I mean,
they're more of like, what's your gut say about is he guilty or not?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, just the fact that they didn't have. It was like, well, did he say this or did he say that? It's like, well, we should have this information like available to us immediately. We should be able to go to someone during our deliberation and say, so we noticed the glasses marks on the side of are those reading glasses, or does she have a prescription?
Yeah.
Like those types of things. And
the evidence knife should have been in a plastic bag, because you need it for appeals or if you need to do another trial. You can't have people just handling this thing. Yeah, Nobody can touch it as long as it's evidence in a murder trial.
So, I mean, I think they took a couple of creative liberties just for the sake of... I mean, just trying to make it... It's no fun to have a prop like that in a plastic bag. You
can't stab it into the table then.
Yeah, you can't fake stab...
Well, that was the other knife at that point.
Yeah, that's true. But
yeah, it's about the comparison on the stabbing in the table, and it's in and I'm interested to know, too, about if maybe that wasn't an evidence standard at that time. They dust for prints at the time of the crime, and then they make the notes of what they were. And then it doesn't matter who touches it. We already got the notes and what the prints were.
I really wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
Law enforcement wouldn't fudge anything or lie. We don't need to test it again ever. We did that. We wrote it down. Yeah.
That was also interesting that you know, it was immediately after, it was when the cops were talking to the kid that he couldn't remember what movie he went to, but then later on in the trial he like recalled it, you know, and they were like, well, that's lawyer tricks and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But which is totally possible. I think the kid is probably guilty, but they just didn't have a good enough case. You know?
Yeah. You need a better, but in a time before DNA and all that stuff, like what even really, or before ubiquitous recording devices of any kind, what's the better case, you know?
Right.
Yeah, it's tough for us to put ourselves in that time period in terms of what's sufficient to execute an 18-year-old. I mean, yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah, it's almost like we shouldn't be executing anybody at all. But
yeah, it's a very irreversible final sentence, and that's a problem. And it is also very costly. But
it's extremely expensive.
We don't want to wade into
no. We have
criminal
our opinions
justice
about this,
politics.
But it's not everyone's opinion, so that's fine. It's all good. I understand completely why you would think there's horrible people out there that just.
When you really know the guy did it, it's really hard to be anti-death penalty. You know, looking at like the Tsarnaev brothers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Right, so,
they did it for sure. It's bad.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I mean, it's also interesting because, like, you know, they're talking about ironclad evidence and stuff, but like you said, they had no recording devices or no way to, you know, so they had 2 eyewitnesses and a knife that's exactly the same knife that the kid doesn't have his knife anymore. Yeah. And like he doesn't have an alibi.
So who else was it though? The other thing is you have no alternative story of like who else might have killed this guy in this time window that we have. And that's something, but I guess that's for a trial. That's not for, you know, that's not for the defense to have to provide another story.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But having a narrative is really
very
helpful.
Help in convincing a jury there's another version that makes sense to me, because otherwise they think I don't see any other way that this happened, you know. How did he wind up with the knife in his chest?
So I mean, audience who's watching us right now, unless I'm missing something, I think the kid was supposed to be guilty. I think that we as the audience were supposed to come to the conclusion that the kid did actually kill his dad.
Yeah, because they never gave us something with the alibi of like, okay, so there's the other version that makes sense. You know, there's not really another story.
It's all picking apart the witnesses' like credibility,
right? Or just like, about how can you be sure was really the question it was trying to ask us. It wasn't trying to say this kid's not guilty and he was railroaded and we'll show you. It was just about doubt and uncertainty.
It is almost, if that's the case, this movie's almost about the flaws in the system in general.
Yeah,
it's about a jury deliberating themselves into letting a guilty person free.
Yeah.
You know? And like the stakes too of it being like, well, he's not just going to spend 25 years in prison, he's going to get the chair. Is like, I think adds another layer to that about like your willingness to sort of extend your like, well, you know, how can, like, you're counting seconds all of a sudden and you're being like, how fast could this hobbling man get from the hallway to the,
you have to be really certain.
Wild. Super cool.
I think it's interesting too that the 2 guys that were the guy being racist and the guy with the complex about his son, both of them didn't really need to be like persuaded the other way exactly. All they had to do was realize that their thinking about it was being clouded by something other than how they're looking at the facts. And they were like, okay, well now I just don't trust the way I think about this at all, so I have to let him up. You know, it was just about they were almost declaring themselves unfit as jurors. I don't know. I'm seeing there that our post-conversation's gotten very long.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to talk about in this one, but I mean, I can't really think of a whole lot else to say about it.
That was a really good movie. I'm going to be thinking about that. You know, it's one that will stay in your head for sure.
Yeah, left an impression on me for sure.
I also have a hard time with old movies a lot, and so this is maybe my favorite old movie that I've ever seen. I think.
Yeah, it is really, really good. I'm trying to think of another one that's.
To Kill a Mockingbird is awesome. Also courtroom stuff.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen that, I recommend it.
I like Citizen Kane, but maybe, I mean, I understand that's a little...
I respect Citizen Kane more than I enjoy watching it, you know?
It did some pretty pioneering things, some stuff that's still cool to this day. Anyway, we can go on and on about this, but...
We've been talking forever. Thanks for watching, everybody. We're going to do more movie polls, so head to our Patreon to check out and vote in what we will watch next movie. So, I think you're the intro guy. So.
Well, in the meantime, I'm Nate.
I'm Sean.
And this is Ketchup Packets.